everybody? How you doing? It's JD Shabazz here, you know, and I want to say this is, a new season here, and in this season here, it's gonna be more off of things that's gonna make you say, you know. So I want to say sorry, for the episode I had with what is a economic family fund, because in that episode, it got cut off before I was finished, So I'm gonna, I got a new camera, and hopefully I'm gonna try to do a little bit better with this. So this episode is gonna be what is a Congress, and I want you to think about this here. So I mentioned before I talked about Wendy's and the 4 for 4. I remember back when we had, just before COVID-19, they had the 4 for 4. They had the McDonald's dollar menu, and all that stuff just disappeared, just gone there. You had more bang for your buck, you know, and all that stuff just disappeared, And I remember, when COVID hit, there was a big supply and demand for those dust masks that we used to wear. Everybody's walking around with these surgical dust masks there, for dust, and then all of a sudden it seemed like those manufacturers for those dust masks, they seen, the supply and demand for these masks, so they started charging and doing this upcharge thing with these dust masks. So all of a sudden you started seeing these masks and all this stuff going up, and gradually, through COVID, I noticed that things like eggs. I remember the whole supply for eggs and the supply for water. There was a big demand for water. Everybody's buying up all this bottled water, and the manufacturers couldn't keep up, so they started raising the price on this stuff there. And it was getting crazy. And I remember, I live out here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I went to this place, man. I'm not gonna say the name. I don't want to mess up their business, but I went to this restaurant, and I was looking at the menu there, and I seen that they had a glass of orange juice for $25, and I'm like, man, this can't be real. This got to be some kind of joke, But it was serious, man. I had to ask the waiter, you know, like, is this real, man? This supply, I mean, this orange juice is really $25, and he told me, man, he said, yeah, I think, man, there was so many people asking for orange juice, so they raised the price on the orange juice to some crazy amount, because there were so many people asking for orange juice. And I'm like, man, it must be a special orange juice, man, for $25, man. I almost want to get a bottle myself because I want to hear see what kind of orange this is, man. I wonder if you got somebody back there squeezing the oranges back there, you know, because that's a lot of doggone money just for one glass of orange juice, man. That must be some special oranges, But I noticed that, like I said, right before COVID, man, these same apartments that I'm in right now was around $800, you know. But right now, these apartments are $1,500 plus, for the same old apartments. There, they ain't did nothing to them. The only thing they may have did was maybe change the paint up, But all these appliances and all this stuff, the sink, man, got the same old faucet. They don't even got the stretch out, faucet that come out. They got a raggedy old a faucet, You can barely even get up the rest of your doggone sink, because the faucet can only reach so far, you know. But so it just seemed like everybody just said, maybe we can raise up our prices too, since everybody's raising up these prices for this stuff there, So they started raising up their prices there. And I remember, because around that same time when we was going through COVID, I started to try to look for a house, and I'm walking around with my realtor, and we looking at the APR, and we looking at the pricing on these homes and how everything was going up, and he was saying maybe you need to buy one right now because the market is raising up because there's people coming out here that's buying up the market. There's people that's coming from California and they're selling up their homes there in California and they're moving to Las Vegas because the cost of living is cheap. It's cheaper, and it's right there in between. California. You got L.A. right there. You got the tri-state area. You got Arizona down this way here. And then you got Nevada, Las Vegas, right here. So they call it the tri-state area. So you're right there next to everything there. So they felt like they needed to raise up their market. So all the people who are just regular locals that have been living here, they kind of got hit with this market there. And the cost of living just skyrocketed. But at the same time, the wages stayed the same. They started paying everybody the same thing, and it slowly is going up, but it's not keeping up with the cost of living here. Because like I said, there's no 4 for 4, and there's no deals that you can get. Everything that you get, is almost like a luxury thing. And even these little restaurants, they done made some kind of luxury fast food chain now all of a sudden. And they got you paying up just for a regular old burger there, you paying $10 just for the burger itself. And we had things like the $6 burger, and we thought the $6 burger was something lavish to have there, for $6. But now a $6 burger is a regular standard burger, and on top of that, they didn't cut them down and made them smaller now. And like I said, Wendy's, man, they had the double stacks, and the double stack used to be a nice full burger. Now you get it, it looks like a slider, you know. So everybody